I'm Terry Cunningham, and welcome to Hello, It's Us, a program based on the premise that life just kind of works better when we're all working in the same direction, as opposed to it being you, me, and them. I'd like to welcome our guests tonight. First of all, Vivian Davis, the Executive Director of Chatham Oaks, and you brought a couple folks with you.
Yes, this is Sara Thelander and her mom, Kristin Thelander.
Great. And of course, my co-host, Keith Ruff.
Yeah.
I don't know how many folks are aware of Chatham Oaks and what you all do. You want to kind of give us an overview on
Sure.
what is Chatham Oaks?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. I think sometimes when people think of Chatham Oaks, they think we're something we're not. Maybe sometimes a long-term care or a nursing home. And so I always like opportunities to clarify what we do. Chatham Oaks actually specializes in providing services to people with chronic mental illness. And Chatham Oaks has been a private nonprofit agency since 1988. Prior to that time, it was the Johnson County Care Facility, and there are, some folks that still kind of refer to it as that. Mm-hmm. We are on Johnson County property out next to the old Poor Farm, and the facility has changed over the years. It did used to be more of a long-term care setting, and now we have several different programs. We currently have the residential care facility, which we refer to as the RCF, and we currently serve about 70 to 75 people in that setting. Everyone has a chronic mental illness, and the length of stay for people in the RCF has changed significantly over the last 5 years. It used to be that people would come and be there for about, maybe a year or two, or sometimes longer in some cases. Now, the people coming in generally don't stay as long. We work very diligently to help them get stabilized, and there are more opportunities for people in other settings to receive support services at home or in a supported living apartment or those kinds of things. That we do have some individuals still at Chatham Oaks who have been there for longer term, who do have chronic, persistent, serious mental illness, and because of the issues that they face, it's difficult for them to move out into the community quickly. So we do have some individuals in that situation. We also have a supported community living program, which we have acronyms for everything, and so we call that SCL, and we provide services to people on an individualized basis, people who are in their own apartments or their own home. The number of hours a month that the person needs may vary. It does vary, and it's based on the individual's need. And the funding for that program is generally paid through a Medicaid service called habilitation, or home-based habilitation. People get assistance with things like grocery shopping, medication management, going to appointments, just making sure that they're staying on track for what they need to do to live independently. The other great thing that we have going on is back in 2007, we built 2 apartment buildings right next door to Chatham Oaks called Melrose Ridge. And there are 2 buildings, each one has 9 apartments in it, and there are 18 people living over there very successfully. We can give preference to people with mental illness to live there. You do not have to have a service provider necessarily. and if you choose to have a service provider, it does not have to be Chatham Oaks. Chatham Oaks is the general partner for the actual buildings. However, we do not, we don't dominate the services or tell everyone they have to work with Chatham Oaks. So that's a very nice feature. We've been able to collaborate with other agencies in Johnson County, and there have been, over the years since we've been open, there have been people who have had different providers, and we currently have several people who have no services because they're doing so well. So it's another great opportunity that we have for people. We really try hard to offer a good continuum of care through, the RCF when people need more support in that setting to get stabilized, maybe get their medications, on track and stable, and then they can move on to transition to a different point in their lives. So that's kind of what we're about.
Are those people living in those apartments, are they allowed to come and go?
Yes, they are. It's actually just like renting their own apartment, Keith. It's they sign a lease,
Okay.
and there's a property management company, Keyway Management, and they have a process they have to go through when they apply to live there, and it's a secure building. They have their own key to their own apartment. It's just like you or me living in your own apartment, One additional thing I just want to add quick about Chatham Oaks is that we recently became an affiliate of Abbey Incorporated. And Abbey Incorporated has primarily been in the Cedar Rapids area. And I think when most people think of Abbey, they think of the Abbey Center, which is an RCF. But Abbey Incorporated has many different types of affiliates. There's a community mental health center. Between us, there's 3 RCFs. There's the Penn Center in Delhi, the Abbey Center in Marion, and now Chatham Oaks in Iowa City. One thing that is really positive about this affiliation is that we feel like it makes us stronger together, especially with the mental health redesign that's going on and all the changes in funding and the uncertainty. And it also gives us a presence throughout the entire region that is being formed with the counties that are currently forming a region. So,
do the different entities of it then share services provided? So if mental health services, if in Iowa City they're having trouble getting in someplace, can they then go to the one in Cedar Rapids, or
that is
that all?
Yep, that's an excellent question, and we've actually just begun this venture, and that's what we're hopeful for. Maybe somebody is, maybe Chatham Oaks isn't the right fit for someone, or sometimes people have someone in their life, in their past, who maybe it would be better for them during that time to live in another city, get away from that person for, until they're stable. So maybe it would be helpful for them to go to the Abbey Center or to the Penn Center. The Abbey Center in Marion also offers what's called a PMI, which is a little higher level of care, RCF. And sometimes people need that as well for a short time. So the short answer is yes, we're really hoping to be able to move people throughout the continuum.
Well, again, it's nice that that's a possibility. Back to the apartments. I'm a little confused, which is not unusual. Are they just apartment complex like any other would be, or do you have to have a specific diagnosis to rent them, or
That's,
how,
yep.
how does that work?
Yep, let me explain in more detail, definitely. They are not exactly like any other apartment in several ways. They are low-income housing, and it was funded through a tax credit program through the Iowa Finance Authority, and we are able to designate it as #1 serving people with special needs. And then we can further pinpoint that to giving preferential treatment to individuals with mental illness, with chronic mental illness. Now, if we were to have openings and there was no one in those groups available or interested or waiting, then we could go to low-income individuals. But we have never had that problem. We've always stayed full.
Also, I think they're made for physical handicaps too, because
Yes.
I noticed in mine they have the railings
Yes.
and everything. So
Yes, they do. They
that
do.
was gonna be my next question.
Yes. Yes. Handicap accessible.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. And what's the other thing I was going to say? Oh, the common areas. That is a very, very nice feature. Both of the buildings have common areas where people can get together, or it's another place. We have some very nice lounging furniture that was donated to us that people can sit in and watch a bigger screen TV. We have a computer out in the common area. One of the buildings actually has a small kitchen in the common area if they would like to have a potluck or a joint meal. Or we could also do some meal preparation training in that kitchen as well. And I have heard so many comments from people who live at Melrose Ridge about how much they like it and how safe they feel and how they don't have to worry about, are they going to have a neighbor who's a college kid having a beer party and be really loud? Don't have to worry about feeling judged or feeling nervous about having a mental illness, or it's just a very, very safe,
Yep.
comfortable place to live.
And I think the common area things are just so neat in those things. Before I moved down to Iowa City, I lived in a handicapped elderly 40-unit apartment complex that had one fairly good size community room, but then had another large one that, in fact, we did have monthly potlucks in, and it also had a full kitchen associated with it.
Nice.
So you saw people more. That's one of the things
Yes.
that I miss now that I live in condominiums.
Yeah, yeah.
There are no common areas. You know, the hallway. If you happen to see somebody,
Right.
I see more people in the little foyer where the mailboxes are than
Yeah.
any other time. But
I do.
you can easily go for weeks
Yeah.
without seeing anybody, just depending on what your coming and going times are.
Yeah.
And I just think that would be such a neat feature if they put that in all apartment complexes,
Yeah.
or condo buildings rather.